two. Okay, it's the second song. What? She was talking about.
Good morning, everyone. Can everyone please rise so we can start our first song, Song of the Young People?
We shout with joy, we rise and sing, the will of God is done. A new day dawns and the dream lives, the Son of God has come. Fight bravely to crush Satan, God's power will be revealed in the children of our Father, the youth of harmony. The darkness which has covered us in Him has been dispelled. The dawn breaks into daylight, we ring the morning bell. 30 billion shall live in the bright light of truth. Let us rise and march forward in harmony of youth. As children of the heavenly power, we march against our foe. The command comes and the world bows to our true Father's own. Giving light unto the nation, we carry high our dream. Let us win out for our Father, the youth of harmony. Let us win out for our Father, the youth of harmony. Thanks, guys. All right, and our second song this morning is going to be As the Deer. As the deer panted for the waters, so my soul longeth after thee. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. You're my friend and you are my brother, even though you are a king. I love you more than any other, so much more than anything. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. I want you more than gold or silver, only you can satisfy. You alone are the real joy giver and the apple of my eye. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart. worship thee, and I long to worship thee.
Thanks, everyone. You can be seated. And now we will have our weekly update.
Hi, my name is Marcus Fuller, and we're Carp Las Vegas. We're here in headquarters right now. We're doing a 40-day pilgrimage where we're doing fundraising, as well as seeing the holy sites around the United States and seeing the unification of communities. And now for your weekly update!
We just finished our American Leadership Conference at the East Garden Estates of Tarrytown, New York. The mayor of Irvington attended the conference and gave a wonderful speech on the topic of true leadership and good governance.
It's very important to be discussing big issues like leadership, character, the importance of family and community, and how important it is to start with yourself, start with your own character, and then build and let that go outward.
We had 4 sessions. One session was on leadership and good governance, and another one on marriage and family, and how communities can go beyond the barriers of race and religion to build peaceful communities.
I have devoted my energy and resources to bring down the barriers between all religions, those who believe in one God.
When you talk about universal truths, it brings us closer to understanding God's purpose for our life and understanding our sibling relationship as spiritual brothers and sisters.
Finally, we had one session on the topic, is there really hope for America, and what is America's mission and role in the world?
We got some technical, emotional discussions on it, and we ended up saying that America is still God's hope.
I am here today to invite families to the National Prayer Call. This call brings together people from all across the nation, sharing together as one family, praying together, laughing together, hearing inspirations from our true parents together. And so it's with one voice, one heart, that we're able to connect and to set a foundation to welcome our true parents to Madison Square Garden. It's very simple. To get on this call, all you have to do is go to familyfed.org and look for the button that says Prayer Call. You can join this prayer call at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every night until July 14th. When we're on that call, we're in it together, and we remember that we are one family.
Question: would you like to participate in the Blessing America 2017 campaign? In order to prepare for our true mother coming to America, we're calling on all tribal messiahs to come out and bless people. Need support? Go to heavenlytribe.org. Click the join button, fill the form, register, and gain access to support calls, resources, and inspiring testimonies from other tribal messiahs. Together, we can do it.
Hi there, my name is Adruma Victoria, producer of the 2000 Voice Choir at Madison Square Garden. I'm happy to invite you to join this amazing choir of 2,000 voices from all across the country and around the world. We're going to be celebrating the outpouring of God's Spirit for love, hope, family, and renewal. So come on out and be a part of history in the amazing 2,000 Voice Choir at Madison Square Garden, July 15, 2017. See you there.
To join the choir and learn the songs we'll be performing at the Garden, go to familyfed.org and click on the 2000 Voice button, or go directly to 2000voice.org. Thank you.
Hi everybody, Damien here at headquarters. We've got everybody working super hard, full time, flat out, preparing for the True Parents at the Garden, Madison Square Garden's July 15 event. We've got the video team preparing for the video wall. We've got the design team working hard. Look at all these posters and flyers they've been making. Some of you may be wondering where to get your tickets. No problem. It's easy. Carrie, can you type in msgjuly15.org, please? Great. Straight to this ticketing page. There's a big button right there that says tickets. Let's press that. Bam! Type in your name, information. Okay, you've got ticket options. You could go for individual tickets or a family rate. Just type in the number of people coming with you in your immediate family. Make sure you go all the way down to press next to the next page so that you can pay and receive your reservation for Madison Square Garden July 15th. Maybe right now you're sitting in church thinking, oh yeah, I'll do that when I get home. No, do it right now. Don't worry, you have permission to pull out your cell phone and type in msgjuly15.org. Same thing, real easy on your cell phone. Hit tickets, punches you down, start putting in your personal information. Choose how many tickets you want. Hit next, bam, put in your credit card information. Once you pay for your ticket, you're going to get a reservation confirmation. Show that to your pastor and he'll be able to give you the real paper ticket that's going to get you in the door at Madison Square Gardens. Every district has been assigned first-tier seating, so you want to make sure you get your ticket from your local community. Otherwise, you can also show up at the door. For example, if you're inviting a guest, you can send them this link, msgjuly15.org, and they can buy their own tickets, they can invite their own friends, and with that reservation, they can go to the door on the day and get their ticket right there at the door. They'll be allowed in. So, right now, pull out your phone or open your laptop and reserve your seat right now. We're going to fill the garden. Get your tickets today at msgjuly15.org. See you at the garden.
And one last thing. It's Father's Day this Sunday, so let's be sure to show our love for our dear hardworking dads.
Thanks for watching. God bless you. And see you next week.
Good morning. Happy Father's Day to all your fathers. And new grandfathers. And soon-to-be grandfathers. So, yes. And soon-to-be fathers. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, fathers, for everything you do. So I'd like to take this time to introduce some guests, if we have any. Would you mind introducing yourselves? If you don't mind standing up, I'll bring the mic to you.
Good morning, everyone. This is part of the Sumagari family. My husband Ichinori and myself, Vera, are from upstate New York, and we are visiting our daughter Jungil. She's going to Naropa to school, and this is her final year. And we came out for the workshop in Las Vegas, and we thought, oh, Colorado is not so far. Where are you? Denver is not too far from Las Vegas, so she actually flew out to Las Vegas to meet us there, and we drove back and did a lot of wonderful sightseeing. So, and we are very happy to be here this morning. It's a lovely church and a beautiful congregation. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for being here. Now at this time we can all stand and say hello to each other. If you can make your way back to your seats, please. You didn't hear anything. If you could make your way back to your seats, please. If you can all join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Parents, thank you so much for this day, for this beautiful Sunday, beautiful Father's Day, Heavenly Parents. We want to thank you for all of us gathered here together. We can hear your words, Heavenly Parents. We ask you speak through Pastor Mike today and fill our hearts with wisdom and knowledge and your love, Heavenly Parents, and we can pass it on throughout this world, Heavenly Parents. We're so grateful for you and for everyone here, and we offer this up to you in the name of Justino Joalvish of La Central Family. Aju. Please help me in welcoming up Pastor Mike.
Thank you, Joelle. The other mic had some metal tinginess sound. Is this better? Yeah. It's better? Okay, weird. All right, well, it's so great to see you all. Thank you so much for coming. It really feels like we're in the kind of the swing of summer, doesn't it? A lot of people are out camping. And also, I mean, honestly, it's a really inspiring summer because we have so many members of our congregation who are going to different places to do different things. My dad, he's going to be teaching a workshop in Las Vegas. He's also, Texas, sorry. And he's also going to Korea to teach there also. And then also today, Amy and Kayla and Hisako-san are all on their way to go to the CARP Japan and Korea trip that you saw in the video recording. So that's really exciting. And then we've got a whole kind of contingency, a whole group that's going to be going to Madison Square Garden next month also. So, and then also Yosuke is going to be traveling to Rhode Island to help with a program where Japanese young people are coming to America to experience what the Japanese American movement is like. So very, very cool. I and a friend of mine have recently started doing a mentoring program. And we get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and we watch a couple videos a couple times a week, and slowly kind of getting through this program that usually takes a few months or so, a couple months. And the other day we were watching this video, and it was actually a recording of a message from another pastor. And I just loved the message so much, and I just felt it was so relevant for where we are at as a movement and as a community, that I just felt that I wanted to be able to share it all with you. And so I hope that you find it as inspiring as I found it. And so I'm going to be playing the video, but it is a full sermon, so this is a little unusual, but I'm going to be playing it in place, and then I'll just share a few words afterwards. And so I really hope that you enjoy this video by this pastor, Andy Stanley. He's the pastor of a mega church, a group of mega churches in Georgia. So please enjoy. Thank you.
don't know if you were paying attention to the screen there, but when you look at those statistics, I get overwhelmed by all that. I don't know if it's an age thing. I think it's a little bit of an awareness thing. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I get overwhelmed by that. I get overwhelmed by the combination of what happens in our 24-hour news cycle. You know, we know about every national disaster, an international disaster. We see pictures, cholera outbreak in Haiti as if Haiti needed that, and on top of everything else in Haiti. Every tsunami, child trafficking, drug addiction, divorce rate, what happens with children, pictures. I mean, I don't know how you respond to that. I mean, I think some people just shut it off. If you have a compassionate heart, it's just heartbreaking. You can hardly watch the news. You can hardly read any of that. And then and to compound that with the personal tragedy you know about. You hear about a neighbor who's getting divorced. You hear about a neighbor who's got a very, very sick child. You have a neighbor who they have an only child, and their only child was in an automobile accident. Not sure they're going to survive. Just found that out this weekend for Navarre's. And again, then so-and-so's having trouble in their marriage, and can you come over here and talk to us? And I have a prodigal son or a prodigal daughter, or pray for my grandmother or my grandchild. And where I live, you know, with my job, and you know, in addition to all the stuff we all know about, and in addition to all the personal stuff, there's all the stuff that filters into our office and into our church because we're a large church. And it's really every single day in my life is somebody's new tragedy, somebody's new cancer, somebody's new divorce, somebody's new family breaking up. And then on top of that, just all the needs in the world and all the statistics, and it's just overwhelming. And for me, and maybe you know you're not this way, I just get frustrated because I realize I can't do anything about any of it, none of it. I'm like you, I've done some traveling in the world, and I've been in some third world countries in some of the worst parts of the world. And you look at the poverty, and you just think, gosh, short of just a big lot, you know, a whole lot of big yellow machinery where we could just bulldoze the whole thing and start over, what is the solution to this? And you know, government agencies all over the world have thrown gazillions of dollars, you know, after every kind of level of poverty, and you know, trying to deal with epidemics and all the stuff, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. And you know, what do you do with that? And again, depending on your personality, you respond in different ways. Some of you are like, well, Andy, just get over it. Just go back to work and quit reading all that stuff. And you know, there's part of me that would like to do that, just like to shut the whole thing down and not pay any attention. But I'm a Christian. And most of you are Christians. And you can't do that. You're not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to do that. But at the same time, we can't solve any of this. And you know, here, as we begin a new year, part of this new year is more of that, isn't it? More divorces, more families breaking up, more national disasters, international disasters, more famine, more heartbreak, more government, you know, in some other country misusing their funds while their kids starve and people starve, and kids that need to be fostered, and, you know, kids that are abandoned. It's just going to be more and more and more of that. And what do you do with it? And I think part of the problem for all of us is awareness, this issue of awareness. A long time ago, some of you can remember this. All of our grandparents remember this. A long time ago, the only poverty you knew about was the poverty you saw. A long time ago, the only divorces you knew about were the divorces that were, in your immediate family. The only natural disasters were the natural disasters that affected your city or your state. Or maybe you read a newspaper article about something in some other city, and there was a little black and white picture of a snowstorm, and that was about it, right? And we just didn't know what was happening all over the world. And consequently, we were able, I think, better to manage the drama of our own communities and our own towns and maybe even our own countries. But a long time ago, there just wasn't the awareness of all the junk that happens in the world all at once. And yet every time we turn on the television or the radio or drive, you know, somewhere or listen to somebody talk, it's just more and more and more and more and more. And what do you do with that? What do you do with that? And we can't shut it off. I mean, it's tempting. We shouldn't shut it off. We're Christians. And then to kind of infuriate some of us, and I don't want to get off on this because it kind of becomes a personal rant, then there's this whole thing in our particular culture of this, what I call misguided compassion, where people, in an attempt to be compassionate, do the very thing that exacerbates the problem. And in attempting to help people, we actually hurt people, but we feel good because we had a short-term solution, but we created more long-term chaos, and it just makes it worse. And now another generation is gonna face some of the same stuff that our generation faces, but only worse. And there's really nothing, honestly, I mean, you may be a rich, powerful person, but there's nothing you can do, really. You may be able to do more than me, but you can't fix it. And I can't fix it. And what do you do with that? But more specifically, what do we as Christians do with that? Because it's absolutely overwhelming, And we can't ignore it, and we can't pretend like it's not there, but we can't solve it. We can't fix it. We can't one-on-one and on our own change the world. Now, if you can identify with anything I've just said, and if that stirs up anything in you, I'm glad you're here today because that's what I want to talk about. If you're kind of sitting here like, wow, could you just talk about something happy? Could we just get this thing? This is going to end happy. But I just kind of want to stir up this thing that at some point you felt at some level as you watch the news or as you get a phone call or as you kind of wait for the other foot to drop or, whatever it is that it's going on in your life. And the good news is in the scripture, we're given a clue as to what to do. And so here's what I want to do on our first morning, our first day together as we begin this new year. I want to look at a passage of scripture where Paul gives us a clue. Then I want to give you a simple statement that I've been living with for a long time, and then I want to tell you a story about how this played out in my own life. The passage is actually found in Galatians chapter 6. If you have a Bible and want to follow along, I just want to read 2 or 3 verses, and then I want to give you a statement, then I want to tell you a story. In Galatians chapter 6, Galatians is actually a letter that the Apostle Paul wrote to a group of Christians, and in this letter he talks about many, many different things, but there's this little chunk of verses, these few sentences that sort of center in on this whole thing of what is our social responsibility and what is our responsibility to other people in light of the fact that we really can't change the world and we really can't solve every social ill that bothers us or that plagues our society. And here's how it begins. He says this, let us not, and I love this first phrase, let us not become weary in doing good. I love that. Because some of us are designed and wired in such a way that we can become weary of doing good. And doing good in this particular context is a broad context. He's talking about being good morally, good ethically, good to other people, just doing good, whatever good is. He says, don't become weary in doing good, which I love because you know what? At some point, you just get tired of being good, don't you? You get tired of being generous. You get tired of serving other people. You get tired of caring. You get tired of being engaged. You get tired of being, paying attention. He says, don't become weary in doing good, for at the proper time, he'll come back to that word in a minute. At the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. And Paul says, I understand the weariness that comes with caring. I understand the weariness that comes with carrying other people and their burdens. And I understand the weariness that comes with just the information, the overload of, God, what's going on in the world and why can't I seem to solve it? He says, but don't become weary in doing good. In other words, to a certain group of you, he's saying this, don't disengage. Don't say, you know what, I can't do anything about it, so I'm not even gonna look. I can't solve it, so I don't even wanna know about it. It just bothers me, it just stirs me up on the inside, so I just wanna shut it out. He says, no, you can't do that. You've got to stay engaged. You've got to stay involved. And don't grow weary in doing good because over time, in time, there's a payoff. There's a payoff. There's a reward. If you won't grow weary. Then he goes on, he says this. Therefore, as we have opportunity. And the little Greek word translated opportunity right here really means time. In fact, almost everywhere else in the New Testament and in other translations of the New Testament, this little word is translated time. He says this, now, I don't want you to grow weary. I know there's a temptation to grow weary and you just get tired of everything that's going on. But therefore, as you have opportunity or as you have time, and here's how he finishes it out. Therefore, as we have time, or as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers. He says, as you consider your time and your opportunity, and you have limited time and you have limited opportunity, but as you consider the pace of your life, as you consider the margin of your life, as you consider the time in your life, as you have opportunity, as you have time, as God gives you opportunity, as God gives you time, do good for other people, especially those who are part of the household of faith. Earlier in the book, he says this as well. He says, carry each other's burdens. Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. My point is simply this. In the New Testament, we're taught, the Apostle Paul says it so clearly here, that in spite of the fact that there are problems we can't solve, in spite of the fact that there are issues that we will never be able to fully address so that those problems go away forever and ever and ever, you're responsible and I'm responsible to do what I can for someone somewhere. that with my little bit of extra time, as I have opportunity, as God gives me opportunity, I can't shut my eyes to the needs of others. I can't become so overwhelmed with the magnitude of the problems around me that I miss the opportunity that I have to do something for someone. And so for a very long time in my life, my approach and my way of addressing the overwhelming need, because I promise you, if you think you get overwhelmed, you just need to come spend a week at a local church and just see what happens. The only way that I've been able to survive this is to do something that I want to teach you today. And I want to give it to you in the form of a phrase. And the phrase is simply this: do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. Do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. Would you everybody just say this with me? Do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. One more time. Do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. Now, the reason I love this phrase, part of it is it flies in the face of something that I heard 1,000 times as a child and you heard 1,000 times as a child. And when you heard this as a child, it made you mad. And now that you're an adult, you say it. And we need to all quit saying it. And you know what I'm talking about. Because you go to your teacher and you'd say, teacher, can I do such and such? And the teacher would say, well, if I let you do it, then I have to let everybody do it. And you'd go to the coach and say, coach, can I have one of those? And the coach says, well, if I give you one, I got to give everybody one. Then you go home and you say, Mom, is it okay? No, if I let you do it, then I got to let your brothers and sisters do it. And throughout our childhood, people use this ridiculous, it's not even rational, this ridiculous phrase that if I do for one, I have to do for everyone. And I know what you thought when they said that to you, because I thought the same thing. Well, if I let you go, I have to let everybody go. And what do we think? No, you don't. You can just let me go. And here's the deal. I won't tell anybody. You don't tell anybody. Who in the world said if you let me go, you have to let everybody go? If you give me one, you got to give everybody one. Where in the cosmic, where did that come from? I don't see anybody standing here with a gun to your head. Look, just let me in. Just let me go. Just give me one. Make me the exception. You don't have to do for everyone what you do for one. Just do it for the one, right? And so what happens, I think, for some of us is that way of, if I do it for you, I got to do it for everyone. If I do it, we kind of bring that into our adult life and we look around and we miss this powerful, powerful idea that your responsibility and my responsibility is to do for one what we wish we could do for everyone. And not allow ourselves to become so overwhelmed with the fact that we can't do for everyone that we do for no one. And I'm telling you, so many of us and so many Americans, I think, have been so overwhelmed with need, and poverty and drug trafficking and sex trafficking and on and on and on. It goes, it's just kind of like, you know what? I can't solve it. I can't fix it. So I'm going to do for no one because I can't do for everyone. And if you're a Christian, you can't crawl into that little hole and hide. Because you have a responsibility, and so do I. And I think the solution is for you to ask the question, who's the one I can't do for everyone? But who's the one I could do for what I wish I could do for everyone? I've been doing this for years and years and years, and I teach our pastors this, and I try to teach our staff this. Another illustration this past year, a friend of mine who says that I was instrumental in him coming to faith. We met on the baseball field where our kids played baseball, and he said, Andy, would you baptize me? I said, I would love to baptize you. You got to go through starting point, and when you get through starting point and you get some of your questions answered, I'll baptize you. And so when our team that does baptism and when some of the people around me heard about this, they said exactly what they should say. They said, Andy, if you baptize him, everybody's going to want you to baptize them. And I said, and I wish I could baptize everybody, but I can't. But I'm not going to do for no one because I can't do for everyone. So I'm going to baptize my friend, and then I'm just going to say no to everybody else. It's okay. I'm fine with that. That's what I want you to do. I want you to do what you can for one. I want you to do for one what you wish you could do for everyone, knowing that you can't do for everyone, but never use that as an excuse to do for no one. Now, people say, well, that's not fair. Here's a news flash. Don't even try to be fair. Never be fair. Never, ever be fair. God's not fair. Mama wasn't fair. Daddy wasn't fair. Life's not fair. Forget fair. It's not about being fair. It's about doing the right thing. And if you're going to be fair, then you'll do nothing. You won't do anything for anybody because you can't do it for everybody. If I let you go, I got to let everybody go. You knew that wasn't true as a kid. Don't buy into that as an adult. Do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. Now, here's why I wanted to start the year this way for all of our churches and all of our congregations. Because my prayer for you, and I thought about this all throughout the fall as I knew we were headed toward this Sunday. My prayer for you this year is going to be that during the year, God nudges you. That during the year, you're going to see that one, single mom. You're going to see that one struggling family. You're going to see that one group of kids. You're going to see that one guy in your office. You're going to see that one executive in your office. You're going to see that one group of kids. You're going to see that one age group. You're going to see that one children's home. You're going to see that one person struggling physically. You're going to see that one person, that one individual, that one category, and God's going to nudge you, and God's going to say, that's your one. Now, I want you to do for that one what you wish you could do for everyone. And don't use the excuse that since I can't do it for everybody, I'm going to do it for nobody. Now, I want to give you 3 tips as you apply this, and I want to tell you a story. 3 tips. Tip number 1, go deep rather than wide. Go deep rather than wide. In other words, if you have a passion for high school kids or middle school kids, because when you were in high school and middle school, your life was a disaster, and you just have a burden for middle school and high school kids, then what you need to do is find you a little bitty group of high school or middle kids and go deep with them. Don't just have a general concern about high school and middle school kids. You need to get you a group and go deep with them. Don't just be concerned about the plight of people who are poor. You need to find a person or two that are poor, and you need to go deep with them. In other words, and our tendency is to go wide, not deep. And the reason is because wide is easier. It's just easier. Wide is I'm going to give you $10 and give you $100 and give you $15. I'm going to pray with you once. I'm going to pray with you once. I'm going to pray with you once. I'm going to be wide. I'm going to feel good about myself, but I'm not going to really do any good. To do for one what you wish you could do for everyone means you've got to go deep rather than wide. That's where the difference is made. Number 2, you got to go long-term rather than short-term. In other words, this is a big time commitment. You go long-term rather than short-term. That is when God nudges you, and it's not just a category anymore. It's a face. It's that mom and her son or that mom and her daughter. It's that struggling couple. You can't do marriage counseling for everybody. You're not even a marriage counselor. In fact, your marriage isn't even all that hot, but you got a burden for this couple. You go deep, you go long. And third, you go time, not just money. Time, not just money. Now, this is hard for us Americans because we're rich. You are rich. You have change in your ashtray, okay? That's how much money you have. You keep money in a trash can, okay? That's how rich you are, okay? And us rich Americans, and this isn't bad, we love to give $100 to everything. And if you think of my world, we do these Global X trips where we send people on short-term missions. Do you know how many requests I get at home for short-term missions? I get one for all of them. And if there's 20 kids going in the same trip, I get something from all 20 kids, times however many trips we do. And I love giving 20, in the old days, I'd say $300. Then there'd be 8 more. I'm like, oh, can't keep doing that. So, if you got there last, we just threw yours away. Then finally I thought, okay, I got to come up with a better system. So I'm all for, giving as much money broadly, as you can. But I'm telling you what, don't use the money excuse to keep from investing your time. Do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. Go time, not just money. And I'm not trying to tell you where to give your money. I'm just saying find the one group, the one person, the one issue, the one need, the one organization, the one kid, the one couple, the one guy, the one struggling marriage, the one whatever it is. And make a commitment to go deep, to go long, to go time. And of course, you'll go money. But it's easier for us to, I've had people tell me, Andy, do I have to come to the fundraiser? Can't I just write a check? It's just the way we think. But here's what I'm telling you. As long as you minister, as long as you give of yourself only in that way, you miss an incredible opportunity. So here's my story. In 1986 or 87, that's the part I'm not sure about. Somewhere in 1986, 87, 20-something years ago. I was working for my dad. I was single. I was doing student ministry downtown at my dad's Baptist church. And sometimes I would preach for him on Sunday night. The church was down on Peachtree Street. Some of you remember that. And because we were on Peachtree Street, we were very accessible to street people, okay? A church is the only, you need to know this, a church, the reason churches attract wacko people sometimes, a church is the only place you can get into a large congregation for free. Every place else you have to buy a ticket. But a church is the only place you can get into a gathering for free. So sometimes we just attract interesting people. Okay, sometimes we hire them. So anyway, just kidding. So one Sunday night, I preached for my dad, and what would happen is we'd have an invitation. We're a Baptist church. So at the end of every service, no matter what the sermon was about, you could come forward and join the church or get your needs met, or we'd pray for you, or you could become a Christian. You know, we always did that. So on Sunday night, typically, we'd have one or two people from the street who had just wandered in, sat on the back row. They would come forward, and I'm not making fun, but if you get calloused after a while, they wanted to become a Christian, rededicate their life. They'd be whatever we wanted them to do, they would do, as long as we'd feed them and put them up for the night. They were wide open. They loved Jesus. They loved us. We'd just help me, okay? This was, so, and we were equipped for that. We tried to do what we could for homeless people. So one Sunday night, and again, you get a little callous because here comes another person and you smell them before you see them. And it's just, but we're downtown, but that's okay. We were trying to figure it out. So one Sunday night I preached a sermon. I'm headed back and there was a lady, way overweight. She'd been on the street. You could just not pretty sight at all. Looked like she was about 60. Turned out she was 40. She was waiting for me at my dad's office door where I was going back after the service. And she was standing there and she said, "Preacher?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Can I ask you a question?" And I said, "Yeah." I thought, money, what. She said, "Do you really believe what you just preached?" And I said, "Yeah." And that night I had preached about forgiveness and being set free of bitterness and God setting you free and all these wonderful things that we as Christians believe. She said, "Do you really believe that?" I said, "Yeah, I do." She said, "Well, I need to talk to you about that." Of course, I'm thinking, I got to get home to my wife I actually wasn't married. I don't know where I was going. I need to, I had somewhere to go, okay? I may have said that. I don't know. I got to go. I'm busy, So I said, but, I'm like, okay, let's talk. So we sat down for a minute. Her name was Jane. What I didn't know was that was the beginning of a relationship that would last over 20 years. Her name was Jane McCall. And as I listened to Jane, something in me, sometimes you just get a nudge. I can't explain it. I thought, okay. And I didn't think of it in these terms, but essentially, okay, maybe I can do for this one. I know I can't do for all these people and for everyone. My roommate at the time was Rick Holliday, who's been on our staff from the very, very beginning, our business administrator, and does all our, just oversees basically everything that has to do with the business side of our church to this day. He was single as well. And I introduced Jane to Rick, and so we kind of took Jane on. She sort of became our mascot. Now, she was a street person. She was a drug addict. She was on a methadone program, but she was also on anything else she'd get her hands on. She wouldn't tell us where she lived. We decided to get her into rehab. And during my time with Jane, in fact, I thought about writing a book, Life with Jane. I learned about Medicare, Medicaid. I went to every rehab place. We spent hundreds that became thousands of dollars in and out of jobs. It went on and on and on. And she just was trying so hard, and we were trying so hard, and we didn't know what we were doing. And I'm sure we did it all wrong, and it was just a mess. And she would lie to us, and then she would disappear, then she'd show back up. In fact, she told me one time, she said, "Andy, do you know how to know when an addict is lying?" I said, "How do you know?" She said, "Whenever their lips are moving." She's a drug addict. So anyway, I became way more street smart. I got married during this time, and Sandra met Jane, and Jane just sort of became part of our little entourage as she struggled, and it was horrible. And I'm making light of it, and I got to tell the story quick. But it was. I remember one time we finally got her a job. And it wasn't a great job, but she couldn't really do anything, and she was just so unstable. And we got her a job, and we found these two college kids who had this house, and they were going to let her stay in one of the rooms for free, which didn't look great, but we needed a place for Jane to stay close to MART Alliance so she could get to work. So anyway, she called me. She'd only had this job like 3 or 4 weeks. She called me. She said, "Well, Andy, I had to quit my job today." I said, "What?" I mean, it was so hard to help her. "What? You quit?" "Yeah." I said, "Why?" And she said, and this is how we talked back then. She said, "I have AIDS." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, I tested positive for AIDS. I'm HIV positive." I'm like, "Oh." I said, "Well, why'd you quit your job?" "Well, I knew if they found out they were going to fire me, so I went ahead and quit. And I told the guys that you set me up with that I was moving out because I don't want to affect them." I'm like, Oh no. So, well, let's go to a clinic, get you tested. And so then she disappears for a couple of weeks. Okay, this is just how it went. Then she called me up. Now, there's no cell phones back then, okay? We had car phones. Remember those? Car phones, bag phones, And then some people had those cell phones. It was like the two-handed thing, You could use it as a weapon, So, and she calls me up. She said, Andy, I gotta meet with you. I gotta meet you. So we met. Okay, I lied. Okay, I lied about what? I lied about having AIDS. I'm like, wait. You lied about being HIV positive? Yes. Okay, who would lie? Okay, who would make that up? You lied about being HIV? She says, yeah. She said, I knew, because what happened is I'm using again, and I didn't want to tell you I'm using again because you'd be so disappointed, so I made up the story, and that's why I had to quit my job and move out, but I'm back on the street and I'm using again. I'm like, well, honestly, I'm relieved, okay? So, so anyway, this went on for years, not daily, but weekly, monthly. This went on and on for years. Now, when you have a Jane in your life, you can only do for one, okay? You can't have 5 or 6 of these, But we decided we're going long, we're going deep, we're going time, we're going money. And throughout my years with Jane, we would tell her, finally there was a group of us that knew Jane. I would say to her, Jane, here's what I know is going to happen. If you'll let him, God is going to redeem your pain. She had run away from home. She grew up in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Some tough things happened there. She left there, came to Atlanta, hit the streets, had been on the street for years. I said, if you'll let God, he'll redeem all this. He'll use all this. And she's like, how in the world? I said, I don't know how, but you've got to get clean. You got to stay clean. You got to forgive. And if you do, God is going to redeem all this junk. And the other thing that's going to happen, Jane, one day God's going to take you back to Hattiesburg. She's like, never going back to Hattiesburg. I said, you wait. When you let God have his full force work in your life, finish what he's going to do, at the end of the story, God's going to take you back to Hattiesburg. No, I'm never going back to Hattiesburg. Well, years went by, and she was in church every Sunday, listening to my dad, and then we started North Point. She came with us, and she was always at every service. She stayed for every service. She couldn't get enough. She would serve, and finally, she broke her addiction. I mean, she was clean, and that was I went, you've been to AA meetings, I'm sure. I don't know if you've ever been to an NA meeting, Narcotics Anonymous, a CA meeting, Cocaine Anonymous. I've been to all of them, okay? Smoke-filled room. I'm like, I'm going to have cancer by the time that AA meeting's over. I mean, I met rock stars. I met people I didn't even know lived in Atlanta. I was immersed, and I went to her first meeting. She went to the CA, the Cocaine Anonymous meeting. She didn't do cocaine, but that was the closest thing to her addiction. She felt like she could relate mostly to those people. And there I am in the basement of some church somewhere in downtown Atlanta, smoke-filled room with, freaky cocaine people coming off of that, and it was precious people. I mean, you just couldn't be there and not be brokenhearted and cried. And I gave her her chip. Ooh, it was so emotional. Then a few months later, I was there. I gave her her next chip. Once she was clean for a while, she said, Andy, I want to start a ministry. I said, I knew this was going to happen. She said, I want to help women who are victims of abuse, especially, I won't go into detail. I just want to help women who are victims of abuse. I said, you'd be great at that. She had this little apartment, inexpensive apartment. And so through our church network, she just started meeting ladies. And I would see Jane. She said, Andy, I want you to meet so-and-so. She's in my group. Andy, I want you to meet so-and-so. She's in my group. 3 or 4 weeks later, Andy, this is so-and-so. So she's in my group. And Jane started telling me about her group. They would meet every week, and they would rotate different ladies in and out. And it was all about overcoming sexual abuse and views of men and just all those things that women sometimes are forced to deal with. And she'd say, Andy, I want you to come sometime. I'm like, I gave you your chips. I'm not coming to your men hater, meeting, okay? I love you, Jane, but me and 12 hurting women, I don't know. It just seems weird that I'm the only guy there. No, what she wanted, she was just so proud of what God had done, So she called me one night or day, and she said, look, okay, here's the deal. Next week, I'm having my group, and I'm having the girls invite their boyfriends and their husbands, because I'm going to talk to the men about how to love a woman who's been sexually abused. I'm like, do you even, what? Uneducated, I'm like, she said, so there's going to be some other men there, so I want you and Sandra to come. I said, all right, we'll come. So we climb up those metal stairs to her apartment and get in there and meet people, and she starts. We're sitting on the couch, and she's got a circle, and there are only 3 guys there and about 8 ladies. And I sat there for 3 hours with Sandra, and we just watched Jane hold court. It was amazing. I mean, she had her Bible back and forth and back and forth, and one lady was going to tell her whole story, and and we never said anything. And it was over. We got out as fast as we could when the meeting ended. And I'm not exaggerating. Sandra will tell you. We walked down those metal stairs. We didn't say a word to each other. We got in our car, and we both burst out crying. Not teary-eyed, not weeping. And my wife is not a big crier, and of course, I can get weepy over anything. But, I mean, we were, honestly, I remember we were sobbing. And part of it was just the emotion of what we had heard in that room that night. But a lot of it was watching Jane. A few months later, it all runs together. She called me giggling. I said, "What's up?" She said, "Well, remember how you used to tell me one day I was going to have to go back to Hattiesburg?" I said, "Yep." She said, "I need to go back." She goes, I ran away. I got to go back and make things right with some people, especially with my mama. I said, "All right." So we had a little party for Jane and sold her car that we never were sure. She had a car, but you still had to pick her up because it didn't work half the time. Packed her up and sent her to Hattiesburg. She re-engaged with what she had run away from many, 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 many years before. And she'd come back and visit. She'd sit on the front row. She'd come to all 3 services, sing all the songs, hang around, be the last one to leave. Hated to leave this church. She loved this church. And she loved the people in this church, but she had to go back. And every time I'd publish a book, I'd send her cases of books. She'd just give them all out, And so this went on and on and on. She had a lot of health problems because she'd so abused her body and been on the street for so many years, lots of health problems. Finally, she called me one day and she said, "Andy, I have cancer." She said, "It's not good." So we talked, and I'd call her and we'd talk, and she made one last trip here. And about 3 years ago, Jane died. Now, she had a brother named Buddy, and I would talk to Buddy during Jane's illness just to know what was going on. And after the funeral, he called me. He said, "Andy," he said, "Jane didn't have anything, but she had a little bit. She got a job when she went back to Hattiesburg." He said, "And she wanted to leave the church something. So once we finish paying all the bills, there won't be much left, but we want to send the church something." She wanted us to leave everything she had left over to the church. The church meant so much to her. So a few weeks later, I get a check in the mail for $6,000 from Jane to our church. Now, I've gotten bigger checks, but I've never gotten a more precious check than that, because it represented a whole life that had been redeemed. And it represented to me a 20-something-year-old miracle. It represented to me, and was a reminder to me that as overwhelmed as I get with all the things I can't do anything about, just like you're overwhelmed with things you can't do anything about, that my responsibility isn't to change the world. My responsibility is to go deep and to go long and to go time and to go money, and to always be on the lookout for the one, even though I can't do something for everyone, and to be on the lookout for the one and listen to that still small voice, pay attention to that nudge that Andy, Sandra, family, that's your one. That's your one. I want you to do for the one what you wish you could do for everyone. So this year, I want you to pay attention. This year, I don't want you to be overwhelmed. This year, I don't want you to go into a hole and hide. This year, I don't want you to just give $10 to everything that comes and goes, okay, and feel good about it. This year, I want you to pay attention and look for the one. Because somewhere along the way, some of you already know who it is. Some of you are already engaged. For some of you, it's adoption. For some of you, it's fostering. For some of you, it's a small group. For some of you, it's calling that couple that's going through that terrible thing, and you're thinking, okay, I think about them all the time. I pray for them all the time, but I've never invited them to our home because I'm not a marriage counselor. We're not marriage counselors, but they need somebody in their corner, and we're going to get in their corner, and we're going to stay in their corner with them till they run us off. Because we're going to go deep, we're going to go long, we're going to go time, we're going to go money, we're going to do for one what we wish we could do for everyone. And here's what I think. If everybody did that, it might change the whole world. If everybody did for one what we wish we could do for everyone, it could change the world. But here's what I know for sure. If you do for one what you wish you could do for everyone, it will certainly change somebody's world. And if your experience is anything like mine has been, it'll change your world as well. So we can't run and hide, and we can't be overwhelmed, and we can't grow weary in doing good. We have a margin of time, we have an opportunity, and as God nudges you this year, I hope you'll do for someone what you wish in your heart you could do for everyone.
Thank you, everybody. I hope that you found something meaningful and inspirational in that message. I think that the feeling that I was left with afterwards was that just how much I felt like I could relate with what he was talking about. How much there are times where I feel like there are so many things that could be done or that someone needs to deal with, but it's so overwhelming or it seems so much that it's easier just to not try to do anything at all, or just try to, like he said, go really wide and just try to do a little bit for a whole bunch of different people. So I really felt that one of the things that's so valuable about this message is that in our movement and in our faith, we have such high expectations and such high ambitions that our founders left us with. Their heart and their desire was really that, we do become the kind of people that can save the world and change the world to become the way that God wanted it to be from the beginning. And to deal with these kinds of challenges, and if you read the autobiography of our founder, he talks a lot about how he is kind of the one, as one person, really tried to kind of champion all these different causes and deal with world hunger and a lot of suffering in the world. That was kind of his calling in life. And I think that sometimes we feel like we should be like that too, but how do you actually be like that? It'd be so kind of overwhelming, so gigantic of a cause. And I felt like this is such a great message, because you can easily look at that and then just get stuck and not feel like you can actually do anything or you can contribute anything meaningful. Sometimes it feels like, wow, is investing into one person or into one thing or into one family like meaningful on the greater scale of all the different things that are needed in the world? It can be easy to feel like it's not. But I think that his message is so meaningful in that it is. In that if we can't do something for everybody, at least maybe there's something that we can do in a very deep and meaningful and life-changing way for maybe just one person, or just one family, a neighbor, or maybe just like that bit of a cause that you feel really passionate about. Like he said, maybe if you had a really difficult time in high school, you really feel like reaching out to high schoolers. I mean, that's what I love about what David Stein's doing with the Ilsham kids. He's got this 9 to 12-year-old group, and he's really trying to go, deep with that group. They went to a Buddhist temple today. It's part of their experience. And maybe we can't help all 9 to 12-year-olds, and maybe we can't help all unificationists around the world or whatever. But maybe there is that one person or that one family or something that you see. Maybe God has kind of put that on you, that you notice, like, this person's in this situation, but not necessarily doing anything about it. So maybe this is I feel the same way. Like, we need to be aware what God might be trying to speak to us of that person or that thing that we could really invest our hearts and time and energy and money into, because that's where growth, and that's where happiness comes from. I mean, obviously, you know, his experience is so long, right? But you could also get a sense of how fulfilling that was, in a sense that he could actually take this person who many people would have just written off as completely unhelpable, and actually have been able to help that person over the course of a long period of time. And you know, we need to pay attention. You know, who is it in my life that I can help in a really meaningful way, that I can invest into for the long haul. You know, not give up easily on, and see what happens with that. I think that if our community, if every person was trying to reach out to one person, it doesn't even have to be someone in our community. It could be a neighbor or just somebody that, maybe a homeless person you drive by every day to work, something like that. I believe that we would see a lot more happiness and actually fulfillment and growth in our community, just because we would get so much life out of that. You know, we get so much life out of being able to help people. That's the only thing that really makes this job meaningful. And I think that we all should be having that experience in our lives, to really feel like I am making a difference in somebody's life. And I know we all have our busy lives, you know, our challenges that we go through, but I think that, and I believe that, even despite our shortcomings and challenges, there are still people who can benefit from knowing us, knowing you. So I don't want to say anything more. I feel like the message was enough, but I just wanted to be able to kind of relate that to our own situation and feel that I do think that if we can have that kind of a mindset, that's actually going to make a big difference, more than we think it is. So thank you so much, everybody, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Pastor Mike, for sharing that. Yeah, I think our true Father, when he was saying live for the sake of others, he wasn't meaning give so much that you feel worn out yourself, but yeah, making that really deep impact for a small group of people or a certain individual. So thank you so much for sharing that. At this time, we'd like to reflect over the service, have some meditation music, and have the ushers come forward with the offering. If you have not given your offering or your tithe, you can do so at this time. There are envelopes in the front of your pews. Thank you.
Dear Heavenly Father, dear Heavenly Mother, thank you so much for this opportunity that you've given us to come together as brothers and sisters. We can really open our hearts and we can think about what True Father spoke to us about, which is, to be a spiritual parent to somebody, to be a brother and sister to somebody, to really invest in people and to save their lives. That we can really, in our own way, be a tribal Messiah in what that really means, to be a savior in someone's life. Maybe not 100%, but something that we can give of ourselves to bring them closer to you and you closer to them. Please use these offerings that they can be used in that spirit, and they're given with that heart. We pray and offer this in the best families here, the owners of China Book.
So I'd like to invite Pastor Mike up back for the announcements.
So Alice Fleischer recently graduated with her Master's of Religious Education from Unification Theological Seminary. Yes. As many of you know, back when a lot of the older members did their seminary studies at UTS, it was not accredited. So, but now if you go back and you take some extra courses, then you can actually get an accredited degree, a Master's of Religious Education. So she went through the extra effort to go back, pay the money, do the work, and have the full degree. And sorry, I don't have it in my notes, but your plan next is to get your doctorate of ministry. And so she's going to be going on further starting in August. And she wanted to include a picture of her husband because she said she couldn't have done it without his support. That's beautiful. Thank you. So now we're in summertime, right? A lot of people are traveling, camping, doing different things, and we have a lot of different areas in which I really want to kind of get a brand new start and a fresh beginning on things. So starting on September 1st, we are going to be revamping Sunday service and a few other things, but mostly in Sunday service. So that includes music. We're going to be revamping music. We're going to have our welcome packets ready. Melissa is working really hard on that, so grateful for her. We're going to be changing up the ushering system, so it'll be more focused on greeting, and we'll have groups of people who are focused on that. And so we're going to be needing a few more volunteers, basically, is kind of what it comes down to. For example, Mark, who's faithfully been doing our AV setup, now that we have a better camera that can't just be sitting there taking video, we need a separate video person. And we're testing right now the live feed capabilities, but eventually, my plan is September 1st, then we'll actually be able to go live with the automatic switching back and forth between the video feeds, like what's on the projector versus my face, for example. And so I need somebody who's willing to operate the video camera during service. It's not a particularly difficult job, but I mean, it does need somebody, because Mark can't keep running back and forth to do that. And I'm looking for some people to help me with some different things. We've had so many great things happening in our community, and I have people who tell me, like, hey, I'm looking on the news to see what's happening in Colorado, and I feel kind of shameful because we have stuff happening, but we don't publish almost anything, just because I tried doing that, but I don't have the focus, I guess, to dedicate myself to doing this. But just even to write some simple articles and put some pictures together for our website and for sending to the national news, we just, people want to see what's happening, and they want to see some inspirational things, not just somebody passed away last week. Dave Mahardy's not here today, but he's been coming in, 3-4 times a week, cleaning the dining room and going around the church and dusting and sweeping, and I mean, he's just doing a really great job. But last week he was like, it's kind of a lot, and yeah, it is, especially he's not a 25-year-old guy anymore. So my thinking is, like, maybe we could put together like a few people who are willing to take a few hours, like maybe from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock on a Wednesday, and just come here and like we can put on some music, we can get some snacks, and we can just kind of do some basic, the basic maintenance things for cleaning, but also, we can do some other projects and things like that. It could be a lot of fun. It could be kind of like a group thing almost. And I would love to have a few volunteers who'd be willing to come in. It is a commitment, kind of a commitment, and you can't just do it for 1 or 2 weeks. I mean, David's committed to do it for forever, basically. But you don't have to commit for that long. Maybe you want to try it for a couple months or 6 months or something like that. There's just so many things that when you really start looking closely, you notice. Like, for example, on the side of these pews, there's lots and lots of scuff marks over the years from shoes just scraping by the pews. And it's just not something that normally people notice or that gets taken care of. But those kinds of things, and you add them up over the course of years, it starts to create a sense of that we're not noticing or caring for those kind of details. It may not even be consciously noticeable, but it's there. So this is a big deal for me. I'm ready to commit my time. And so for anyone else who's willing to come, please talk to me, or you can talk to David. He's not here today, but I would love to really make this happen and have a lot of fun with it too. It doesn't have to be all serious and stuff. Also, I'm looking for someone who's willing to kind of take on this tithing envelope. Right now we just have envelopes from Office Max, but I'd love to have nicer envelopes that have graphics and a little quote on there. And also what is this money for? Is this a general donation? Is it for a specific thing? Is it a tithe? And you can check the box or write something in. And then we don't have to have 3 boxes for donations in the back. And it can be nicer and more professional. Very important, I think. And we're also looking for greeters. So starting in September, we'll have a greeting group, really nice, to welcome everybody, 2 or 3 people that can kind of rotate. And then if anyone's willing to help with also the cafe, the food bank, and Sunday school, these are all areas in which we need more help also. So we're going to be expanding the 3 Sunday school classes now because we just have a lot of kids. And that's a good thing. It's necessary. Look, I mean, in the next 4 months, I have about 15 to 17 people who very likely will be moving here. And we can't just keep doing things the way we're doing them because we just won't have the capacity for it anymore. So I'm getting calls literally almost every other week. Somebody new who's seriously considering moving here. So these are just things that we have to, yes, this is a great thing, yeah. But we really have to rethink things. Like, for example, cooking lunch for 100 people versus cooking lunch for 150 people is a big difference, right? I think, honestly, this next 6 months from July to December, it might be the last 6 months that we can realistically do the whole one family makes lunch for everybody thing. It's just, at one point, it's just going to be too much. So after that point, we might just have to switch to, just providing refreshments, which is good, but, it really is a lot. One family making, we do it, one family making lunch for 100+ people. It's, it's a great way to serve, but at some point you just can't do it anymore. Wednesday morning is generally the day we do the food bank. And right now, Catherine and Nobuyuki and Claire are doing it. Claire's got 3 kids. She brings them all with her. And then, Nobuyuki-san and Catherine are not spring chickens anymore. So they can definitely use the help. And then Kayla is in Japan, Korea, and basically Ilsham, they're 9 to 12-year-old kids. They can't be expected to run the cafe indefinitely, and they're going to need some help sometimes. So if anyone feels a calling to, willing to come a little early on Sunday and help out with the cafe, it would be really appreciated. You don't have to have any special skills, just to help out with that. And then just to go back to the whole lunch thing, so I sent out the email for people they can sign up for lunch and cleaning and ushering. So please take time to look at what dates are available and pick a day when you'd like to do those things. I'm not going to go over the whole announcement again, but this 35th anniversary celebration is coming up on July 1st from 3 to 5. And it's a 5-star restaurant, fabulous meal. They're closing the whole restaurant so that we can use it for 2 hours. It's going to be great food, and it's going to be music, live music, and just Roger and Shirley and Jim are just trying to put together such a nice celebration so that we can celebrate marriage. We can celebrate 35 years of marriage, or just come and celebrate whatever, just come and enjoy the meal. Come in and celebrate your marriage or whatever. Just come and participate, and let's spend that time together as a community. So, what's the name of the restaurant again? Golden Shanghai Restaurant. And so, anyway, like I said before, the cost is $15 per person. And, if you have committed to going, you can give that to the bookkeeper today, Ryoko-san. You can give that to her today or, next week. Next week's almost too late already, huh? But anyway, but you really need to RSVP because we need to have an idea of how many people are coming. So please let Roger know, let's just keep it simple. Like, just one person. You can let Roger know. You can just let him know today, even just verbally, like, oh, I'm going to be there. Alice is starting a new initiative, and she wants to pull together resources on, especially words from our founders, about marriage and about what it means to be a part of a blessed family. What does that mean? What's different about that than a regular marriage? And she's working together with people to kind of compile this as a resource for all of us. And she's going to have a kickoff meeting at noon in the Welcome Center on July 30th. So please come if you're interested in that. We have some upcoming 7-day and 4-day Divine Principle workshops in Las Vegas. And if you're interested in that, please see us. There are some scholarships available to cover part of the cost. And then lastly, next week is kind of open. I'm sorry we have 2 potlucks so close to each other, but it just kind of ended up that way. And so I'll try to bring something. Oh, perfect. Yeah, Roger will have a sign-up sheet. And there's one very important announcement that I totally forgot about, and I need to invite my dad up here for that. So let's welcome up Dr. Hendrick.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to let you know I went last Saturday and visited Tony Christian, and he's, if you recall, many of you know him well, Natasha's husband, and Timothy and Divine's daddy, and he had a very severe hemorrhage, stroke, what was it, how many months ago? Anyway, I personally thought he was gone. I mean, he was really in bad shape. And he's been handed back and forth. They took a part of his skull off so that the pressure could be relieved and this and that. But anyway, when I visited him last Saturday, I was just blown away. I mean, when I woke him up, he was sleeping, he just was talking a storm at me. I mean, I couldn't understand most of it, but the point is he's really recovering from this thing in a miraculous way. And so I just wanted to say 2 things. One is, if you're a prayer person, please put him on your prayer list, high up on there, because prayer has really helped him. And prayer will carry him the rest of the way. And you can really see that Spirit World's been helping his recovery a lot. And the other thing is that because his brain is getting rewired, it seems to me, I'm not a neurologist or anything, but from what I've gathered in my life, I bet if you had a little time to sit down with him and go and talk with him for a bit, or bring a jigsaw puzzle or some game thing or something that could exercise his mind and brain and make his brain work on something simple, I think it would really help speed up that rewiring process that's taking place in his head. And but anyway, don't forget about Tony. He's in there, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if someday down the road we might see him, you know, back here with us. So.
Thank you. All right, let's welcome up the music ministry. Please rise and join us for our final song.
Okay, let's join together, and our last song is going to be If I Were Free.
If I were free to speak my mind, I'd tell a tale to all mankind of how the flowers do bloom and fade, of how we fought and how we gained. This weary world has had its fill of words of war on every hill. The time has come for peaceful days, for peaceful men and peaceful ways, when all mankind has ceased to fight. I'll raise my head in thanks each night for this great love and all it means, for golden days and peaceful dreams. If I were free to speak my mind, I'd tell a tale to all mankind of how the flowers do bloom and fade, of how we fought and how we gained. This weary world has had its fill of words of war on every hill. The time has come for peaceful days, for peaceful men and peaceful ways, when all mankind has ceased to fight. I'll raise my head in thanks each night for this great love and all it means, for golden days and peaceful dreams, for golden days and peaceful dreams.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great Sunday, Father's Day, and we'll see you guys next week.